Hiya, it's Jan again. I talked yesterday about things being right or wrong and how there isn't actually really such a thing. I don't know if you can hear my cat, but she's making an awful lot of noise out there. Yeah, Daddy's feeding Rosie, so she's just being a bit verbal at the moment, just getting her tablets. Anyway, if you listen to the rest of this video, you'll find out about things making people or making things mean something. Now, I hate to be sexist, but I think very often women do this more than men, but it is a universal concept that we all do this. We make things mean something. And this is something again I learned on the Landmark Forum many years ago, and I heard some great examples. And one of the best examples I can tell you was a friend of mine who sadly departed now, Dennis, said that his friend had gone on this Landmark Forum. His friend, his son, and he'd never been very close to his son. He felt that he was distant, and it had been sadness, source of sadness to him, and he never really understood why. And one time his son rang him from Canada or somewhere, and he was on holiday, and he just rang him to tell him he loved him and that he was sorry it'd been making him wrong, I think, or something of that sort, and he couldn't wait to see him again, and when could he meet up. And he met up with him, and he said he couldn't believe the difference in this man. He used to walk slowly with his slumped over, looking worried or sad or whatever, and on this occasion he was striding towards him with his shoulders back and ran up to him and said, you know, "Hi Dad, it's so good to see you." And he told him about what had happened in his childhood and how he'd made his dad something that his dad, he'd been telling his story. This was it. This is the phrase that he was making a story about something. And his story was that when he was little, his dad, Dennis, had taken him to see a school. It was a really big posh school, and his dad had said, oh, it was a building, you see, for this chap it was a building, but Dennis had said, if you work really hard, son, you'll be able to go here. I'll take you here, I'll bring you to this place. And the little boy thought it was a prison. He thought his dad was going to, if he worked hard, his dad was going to take him to prison, and his dad must hate him. And this is like a 4-year-old's child. And this 4-year-old child carried that vision that his father hated him through to adulthood. You know, must have been in his, at least in his 40s at this point, when he realised that it was a complete story he'd had in his head about his father, and how it totally affected all his relationship with his father for the rest of his life. I'm feeling quite emotional actually saying the story, because it was sad that Dennis is now gone as well. But how many more stories are there like that? How many stories have you got in your life that you've made up in your head that are completely rubbish? And it's just what you've decided about what you've made something mean something. I mean, there's so many times when somebody, perhaps a woman's waiting for a call from a guy and he doesn't call, and he makes it mean she must go through the gamut of everything that is possibly, oh, he's gone off with another woman, he doesn't love me, he's married, he's all these stupid reasons. And it could be anything, really. And one of the exercises we did was how we had to come up with the most stupid things that it could be why that happened, hadn't happened, or that phone call hadn't happened, or whatever it was. And we were ridiculous, like they'd been transported on another planet to planet Zob, and it made us all laugh. It took the stress out of the situation. But what actually happened was he hadn't phoned her, or even less than that, the phone hadn't rung with the telephone number from him. It might even be that he had phoned her, but the phone hadn't worked for whatever reason, but she hadn't received a phone call from him, was what it was. Everything else was a story. We made it mean something. So have a think about your life, and what, if you have an issue with someone, a long-standing issue, have a think about what actually, go back, if there's an upset, go back to the previous upset, to the previous one. What is the story in your head about that person that you have? Just see if you can do that, and if you realise, if you can find that story, why don't you ring that person and tell them what you've done. Tell them that you've been making them wrong all that time, and what the story is that you've had in your head, and tell them you love them. That's nothing more powerful than that. I hope that's been helpful. I look forward to talking to you again soon, and I will think of another example we had from our brilliant course, and I hope it's all of some use to you. And if you want to join forces with us and do personal development like this, please do click the form at the bottom, the button at the bottom of the form, and of the blog, sorry, and watch the video and see if you think that what we do is something you'd be interested in doing. It'd be great to have you on board. Lock arms with us, fight the forces of evil, and I'll see you on the other side.